My friends, have you ever felt the cold silence of someone you once held dear? The pain of knowing that the one who once looked at you with warmth now turns away as if you were a stranger? You wonder if she will ever return, if she will ever see in you what she once cherished. Let me tell you something today. There is a mystery to human connection, a law woven into the very fabric of relationships. It is a law that says when something of great value is taken away, it becomes clearer in the absence. And when a man chooses not to chase, but instead walks his own path with dignity, something powerful happens. You see, when you enforce no contact, when you refuse to beg, plead, or chase after what has left you, you are not losing. No, my friend, you are gaining. You are gaining respect, self-worth, and most importantly, power. For when a woman steps away, she expects to feel relief. She expects to feel freedom. But as time passes, something begins to shift. The silence you leave behind starts to speak louder than any words ever could. It whispers to her heart, was he really the man I thought he was? It makes her question if she made the right choice. There's a reason she reaches out after weeks or months of silence. It's because absence creates clarity. When you stop giving her your presence, she starts to feel the loss of it. She remembers the good times, the way you made her laugh, the way you understood her like no one else did. But if you spend your time in desperation, constantly seeking her attention, she will only run further. However, if you grow, if you become the man you were destined to be, she will feel it even from afar. Your strength, your independence, your confidence. It will call her back like a voice in the wilderness. So I ask you today, are you going to let loss define you? Or will you use it to transform into something greater? Will you become the man who commands respect and admiration, not because he demands it, but because he lives it? My friend, the choice is yours. Stay in the past and watch the door close forever, or rise. Step into your purpose and let her realize what she walked away from. Because when you do that, it won't be you chasing after her. It will be her looking back, wondering if she still has a place in your world. And that, my friend, is why women return after no contact. There is a force in this world that few understand, yet it governs every relationship, every longing heart, and every moment of reconnection. It is the power of distance, the silent force that makes a person realize what they had, what they lost, and what they now desire again. When a man steps away, when he allows space to exist where once there was constant pursuit, something profound begins to happen. At first, she feels the absence as a relief, a breath of fresh air from what may have felt overwhelming. But slowly, as the days turn to weeks and the weeks into months, the air grows colder and the silence, once comforting, becomes haunting. She begins to wonder why you haven't reached out, why you aren't chasing, why you aren't trying to reclaim what was lost. And in that wondering, the mind begins to shift, the emotions begin to turn, and what was once certainty transforms into doubt. This is the secret that few men realize. Distance is not the enemy. It is the architect of reflection. It is the space where emotions settle, where clarity is born, and where memories take on a new light. She begins to remember you in ways she had forgotten. The laughter, the warmth, the moments of deep connection. These begin to resurface in her mind like waves returning to the shore. And with each passing moment, she starts to question if she made the right decision. But this power of distance is only effective if the man truly understands it. If he spends his time in self-pity, in desperation, in seeking validation from others to fill the void, then the silence he creates is not a symbol of strength, but a sign of weakness. But if he uses this time to grow, to build, to rediscover his own identity outside of the relationship, then something remarkable happens. He becomes an enigma, a mystery, a question that lingers in her mind. She begins to wonder, what has he been up to? Why isn't he broken? Why does he seem stronger than before? And this is where the power truly takes hold. Because now she is the one who is drawn back, not because of force, not because of manipulation, but because of the undeniable truth that distance has revealed. She sees you as something she no longer possesses, and human nature is such that we long for what we believe we cannot have. The absence you created has made you more valuable in her eyes, and the strength you have shown has made her realize that you are not just a fleeting moment from her past. You are something greater, something worthy, something she may have been too quick to walk away from. In the stillness of separation, something powerful happens. What was once taken for granted begins to take shape in the mind as something rare, something meaningful, something that cannot simply be replaced. Absence is not just a void, it is a mirror reflecting back the truth that was clouded by emotions, by circumstances, by fleeting frustrations. It is in the quiet that people begin to see what was hidden in the noise. When a woman walks away, she often does so with a sense of certainty. She believes she has thought it through, weighed the pros and cons, and made the decision that will bring her peace. But human emotion is not so linear. It does not follow the logic of the moment, nor does it obey the temporary relief that separation brings. Instead, it lingers, weaving itself through memories, creeping into moments of solitude and whispering questions into the mind that demand to be answered. At first, she may feel free, unburdened by the weight of the relationship. She may tell herself she made the right choice, that she was suffocating, that she needed space. But as time passes, that space, once so inviting, becomes a landscape of loneliness. The absence that once felt like a gift becomes an undeniable presence of its own. She begins to notice the small things. How quiet her phone has become, how the messages she once ignored no longer come, how the familiarity of your presence has disappeared entirely. And it is in this absence that clarity begins to form. She no longer sees you through the lens of the breakup, through the frustrations that once consumed her mind. Instead, she sees the whole picture, the good, the bad, the irreplaceable. She begins to remember your kindness, your support, the way you made her feel safe in a world full of uncertainty. She remembers the late-night conversations, the inside jokes, the way your presence had become a part of her life so seamlessly that she never realized its weight until it was gone. Absence is the force that makes people confront the truth they try to ignore. It makes her question whether the problems that once seemed so significant were truly deal breakers, or if they were just fleeting obstacles that could have been overcome. It makes her wonder if the new experiences she sought could ever compare to the depth of what she had with you. And as these thoughts take root, they grow into something undeniable, a longing, a curiosity, a pull toward the very things she once walked away from. But here is where the true test lies. If in your absence you remain the same, stagnant, waiting in desperation for her return, then the clarity she gains will only affirm her choice. But if you grow, if you evolve, if you become more than who you were, then her realization will come with an even greater weight, that she did not just lose you as you were, but she lost the man you have become. There is a moment in every separation when the past begins to whisper louder than the present. It does not happen all at once. It builds slowly, like a tide rising in the night, unseen but unstoppable. At first, she feels certain, confident in her decision to walk away. She tells herself it was the right choice, that she needed something different, something more. But as time stretches on, as the silence lingers, a shift begins to take place deep within her heart. She starts to remember not just the arguments, not just the moments that pushed her away, but the moments that once pulled her close. She remembers the way you looked at her with admiration, the way your presence brought a sense of security and warmth. She recalls the laughter, the inside jokes that no one else understood, the moments where time seemed to stop and nothing else mattered. And suddenly what once seemed like just another chapter in her life begins to feel like a story left unfinished. Regret is a force unlike any other. It does not announce itself loudly. It creeps in through the smallest cracks. It comes in the quiet moments, when she hears a song that reminds her of you, when she visits a place you once explored together, when she sees something funny and instinctively wants to share it with you, only to remember that she no longer can. These moments are small, but they are relentless. They chip away at the certainty she once held, making her question if she made a mistake. And then longing takes hold. It is not just the memories that haunt her. It is the realization that those moments are now beyond her reach. She wonders if you still think about her, if you still miss her, if the bond you shared was as special to you as it is now becoming to her. The thought of you moving on, of finding happiness elsewhere, begins to stir something deep inside her. It is not just sadness, it is fear. Fear that she let go of something real, something rare. But here is the irony. This regret, this longing would never have surfaced if you had chased her, if you had begged for her return. No, it is your absence that made her feel this way. It is your silence that allowed her to see what she had taken for granted. Had you pleaded, had you constantly reminded her of your presence, she would have only felt validated in her decision. But instead you disappeared. You became a ghost of the past. And in doing so, you became something even more powerful. You became the one who got away. And now, as she lies awake at night, as she replays old conversations in her mind, as she scrolls through old pictures she once ignored, one question begins to take root in her heart. What if I was wrong? There is an undeniable truth in life. People are drawn to strength, to progress, to those who are moving forward. It is a force more powerful than words, more compelling than any apology or desperate attempt to rekindle the past. When a woman walks away, she expects you to crumble, to break under the weight of her absence. She expects the messages, the pleading, the slow unraveling of the man she once knew. But when that does not happen, when instead she sees silence, distance, and most importantly, growth, something deep inside her begins to shift. Time and space allow her to reflect, but it is your transformation that makes her question her decision. When a man truly embraces personal growth, he becomes more than the person she left. He becomes the person she always hoped he would be. Maybe before you were too insecure, too emotionally dependent, too uncertain of yourself. Maybe there were flaws in your mindset, in your ambition, in your ability to lead. But now, instead of drowning in regret, you are rising. You are working on your body, your mind, your finances, your purpose. You are becoming stronger, not just for her, but for yourself. And that is what makes her take notice. Women are deeply intuitive. They sense change. They feel energy. And when a man evolves, it disrupts the narrative they had built in their mind. She had convinced herself that leaving was the right choice, that you were not ready, that she needed something more. But now, as she watches from a distance, whether through social media, through mutual friends, or even just through the eerie silence you left behind, she sees something she did not expect. She sees a man who is no longer defined by the past, a man who is no longer waiting for her to return, but instead a man who is forging his own path forward. And this is where attraction is reignited. Not through words, not through promises, but through action. Growth is attractive because it signals something deeper. It shows that you are a man of value, a man who does not crumble when life knocks him down, but instead uses the pain to become better. It tells her that she may have left the old version of you, but now, standing in his place, is someone new, someone stronger, wiser, more confident. And that realization plants a seed of doubt in her mind. She starts to wonder if she walked away too soon, if she misjudged your potential, if perhaps in the process of leaving, she was the one who truly lost something great. Because now you are not chasing, you are not waiting, you are simply living, growing, and becoming the kind of man that women do not walk away from, but instead the kind of man they regret leaving. There is a strange and powerful force that draws people back together. Not always love, not always regret, but something just as compelling: curiosity. Human nature is wired to seek answers, to fill in the blanks, to understand what remains unknown. And when a man walks away, when he enforces no contact and disappears from her world without begging or chasing, he creates a void. In that void, curiosity begins to grow. At first, she may feel certain about her decision. She tells herself she has moved on, that she made the right choice, that life will go on without you. But as time passes and you remain silent, a thought creeps into her mind. Why hasn't he reached out? She expected messages, late-night calls, desperate attempts to win her back. She thought you would try to explain, to fix things, to prove your worth, but instead there is nothing, just silence. And that silence speaks louder than words. She wonders where you are, what you are doing, if you still think about her. She starts to check your social media, looking for signs, for clues. She asks mutual friends about you, maybe casually, maybe in passing, but with a curiosity that she cannot. Because in the absence of certainty, the mind creates its own stories. And that is where doubt begins to take root. The moment she begins to wonder, the moment she starts to question what you are thinking, you have already shifted the dynamic. She no longer holds all the power. Because curiosity is not just a passing thought. It is a seed that grows into something much deeper. She begins to wonder if she was wrong, if maybe she didn't know you as well as she thought. The more you remain a mystery, the more her mind fixates on you. Uncertainty is a powerful motivator. If she knew you were still waiting, still hoping, still suffering in the background, she would feel secure in her decision. But if she is unsure, if she doesn't know where you stand, that security starts to crumble. The absence of clarity makes her think about you more than she ever expected. And the more she thinks, the more she feels. She starts to replay old memories, moments of laughter, times when things felt effortless, the way you looked at her, the way you made her feel special. She wonders if she overreacted, if she let something good slip away. And in that wondering, a new question emerges. Does he still care? The moment she asks herself that, the balance has shifted. Because now she is the one seeking answers. She is the one looking for signs. She is the one hoping for a response. And that is the moment she reaches out. Not because she planned to, not because she wanted to admit regret, but because the uncertainty became too much to bear. The silence you left behind has become louder than anything you could have said. And now, she is the one looking for reassurance, the one seeking closure, only to realize that maybe, just maybe, she doesn't want it to end after all. There is something deeper than attraction, something more powerful than words, something that time and distance cannot easily erase. It is the emotional bond that two people build, the unseen connection that lingers long after the relationship has ended. When a woman walks away, she may think she is leaving behind a person, a situation, a chapter in her life. But what she does not realize is that emotions are not so easily discarded. They are woven into her thoughts, her memories, her very identity. And no matter how much she tries to move forward, the emotional bond she shared with you remains. At first, she feels the relief of separation. The space between you gives her a sense of freedom, a break from whatever frustrations led to the breakup. She tells herself she is doing what is best, that she will find something new, something better. But emotions do not obey logic. They do not follow the straight path she envisioned. Instead, they come back in waves. Waves of nostalgia, of longing, of unfinished feelings that refuse to fade. She finds herself remembering the little things, the way you used to look at her, the comfort of your presence, the sound of your voice when you said her name. It is not just the big moments that return to her mind. It is the small, ordinary ones that suddenly seem irreplaceable. The late-night conversations, the way you laughed at her jokes, the silent understanding that only the two of you shared. These are the things that linger, the things that no new experience can quite replace. Human beings are creatures of habit. We become emotionally tied to those who make us feel understood, valued, and safe. And when that bond is severed, it leaves a void, one that no amount of distraction can truly fill. She may try to move on, to replace what was lost, to convince herself that what she had with you was just a phase. But deep down, she knows the truth. There was a connection, a depth, an emotional intimacy that is not easily found again. And as time passes, she starts to realize that relationships are not just about finding someone new. They are about finding someone who understands her at the level you once did. That is when the doubt begins. That is when the emotional bond pulls her back, even when she thought she had made up her mind. She begins to wonder if she truly let go, or if she is just trying to convince herself that she has. Because the truth is, emotions do not simply disappear. They may be buried, they may be ignored, but they remain. And when the silence grows too loud, when the weight of those memories becomes too heavy to carry alone, she reaches out. Not just because she misses you, not just because she is curious, but because deep down she knows there was something real between you. And real connections do not break. They bend, they stretch, but they never truly fade. In the silence of separation, in the space created by distance, something powerful happens. A woman does not return because of words spoken in desperation or promises made in haste. She returns because of what she feels in the absence, what she realizes in the quiet, what she begins to long for when the certainty of her decision starts to fade. It is not about manipulation, nor is it about playing games. It is about understanding the deeper truths of human nature. Absence creates clarity. Regret and longing creep in where security once stood. Personal growth turns distance into attraction. Curiosity and uncertainty force her to seek answers. And above all, the emotional bond you once shared refuses to disappear. These forces work not because you chase, but because you step back and allow her to feel the weight of what was lost. So the question is not whether she will return. The question is whether you will be the same man she left or the man she regrets leaving. Because when she comes back, and she will if the bond was real, she will not be looking for the past version of you. She will be drawn to the man who has risen, the man who has grown, the man who did not crumble in her absence, but instead become even stronger. And when that moment comes, the decision will not be hers to make. It will be yours.